What is this? There's no time to shave. Oh boy, the games list for the upcoming PlayStation Classic has been revealed, and people are just loving it. Sorry, I meant to say that 99.9% of people hate the official released games list for the PlayStation Classic, and I'm frankly tired of seeing hashtag disappointing all over the internet, okay? Come up with a new hashtag, alright? A new title for your YouTube videos. Disappointed, the disappointing list of the PlayStation Classic. We gotta work on that thesaurus, boy! Work on that thesaurus. Now, I'm not saying I love the list. We'll talk about the list. We probably should talk about the list. But here's what I think's going to happen. Perhaps the PlayStation Classic's game list is so paltry and unimpressive because of what Sony is planning down the line. But I'll give that away after we talk about this games list. So let's get into it. But real quick, even Alex at Xander Pedlow on Twitter asked me, now the games for the PS Mini are revealed, are you disappointed? Oh, there it is again. Disappointed. Or are you excited by the lineup? Well, let's just look at the list. I've got it right here, the North American/European version of the PlayStation Classic, going in alphabetical order. We've got Battle Arena Toshinden. Of course, that was a long box game. It was the origin, in a way, of 3D fighting games with that sort of sidestep. You could sort of move into that Z-axis plane. So it was a fitting choice for the Classic. It's got that Soul Calibur-esque weapon fighting style, so each character has sort of a weapon. You know, it was before Soul Edge happened, so that could be pretty good. And, you know, come on, you know you want to go clubbing with Rungo. Rungo. Right? Best character. Next up, we've got Cool Borders. Cool Borders is nothing amazing, but I remember on my original PlayStation, I played the heck out of some Cool Borders. A lot of Cool Borders 3, actually, but Cool Borders 2 is fine. It feels a little bit of that 90s nostalgia for the PlayStation, so that's fine. But next up, Destruction Derby, which was another long box title. I actually love the Destruction Derby games. Any Destruction Derby game gets me excited. I love smashing cars. One of my problems with Gran Turismo was the lack of damage that would show up on the cars. I mean, come on, I crashed it into the wall. Show me some damage. Show me some damage. I'm a little surprised they didn't go with Destruction Derby 2, which added a lot more to the very bare bones experience of Destruction Derby, but it is what it is. At least we got some destruction in the PlayStation Classic. Next up, it's Final Fantasy VII. It's Final Fantasy VII. Of course, obviousness when it comes to picking an RPG. Final Fantasy VII is so iconic for the original PlayStation. Check. Though a bit disappointing, we don't see Final Fantasy 8 and 9, but what? I'm not gonna complain yet. Ooh, Grand Theft Auto. You can sort of see where the GTA series began with that top-down perspective. I know some people think of Grand Theft Auto as more of a PC release in the original sense, but I always thought of it on the PlayStation. That was the version that I played. What's kind of interesting is that the original Grand Theft Auto, I believe, when you loaded the game, once the game had loaded, you could swap discs with a music CD, and I think the radio stations would play a random track from your audio CD in the game, which is awesome, and that feature will obviously not exist because you can't open it. It's a fake case. There's no discs. No audio CDs. I cannot drive around to Phil Collins' Genesis. How unfortunate. Oh, and another side note, the controls and graphics of the original GTA do not hold up well, so yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's a nice nostalgic classic game. Intelligent Cube, IQ. I even got, what do I have over here? Got that IQ Final. Intelligent Cube Final. This is the Japanese. This is not it. But Intelligent Cube is a pretty neat and unique puzzler of sorts, and I'm glad to see it on here because it's a little pricey to get the North American version. Next up, Jumpin' Flash, which was another long box game. It was the first truly 3D platforming game. I think it has some award for being the very first true 3D platforming game. Clearly, that is a title worthy of being on a classic console. You jump around as a robot rabbit. Win-win. Win-win. Metal Gear Solid definitive game on the console. That's a big duh. Then we've got Mr. Driller, a colorful, sort of fast-paced, dig-dug-ish puzzler where you're just digging down straight, drilling down many a meter to the bottom of each level. I mean, it's a colorful game, but nothing technically impressive. I don't really think of it when I think of the original PlayStation, but it's all right. It's all right. Ooh, Oddworld Abe's Odyssey. That was a pretty challenging platformer. I definitely think PlayStation when I think Oddworld, and it had really awesome cutscenes. I always think of cutscenes on the PlayStation. It had a cool art direction and style. It was sort of a unique platformer, though a bit challenging for me, for sure. As I said, it's a challenging platformer. Rayman, which was another long box game. It should just be the long box PlayStation Classic edition, right? Long box edition PlayStation Classic. There's so many of them. This was a very colorful game. I had this one when it originally came out on the PlayStation. I think of it as a PlayStation game. Great platform, very colorful, good voice acting. Rayman. It's where it started. Go ahead. Resident Evil Director's Cut. It's an iconic survival horror game, and the Director's Cut is clearly the best version of the classic to put on the PlayStation Classic. Revelations, or Persona, as people would call this series now. Persona. It's really the most popular spin-off series from Shin Megami Tensei, the Shin Megami series, and it's become its own continuing franchise at this point, a turn-based RPG starring high schoolers in Japan in 1996. Not what you'd expect from your typical turn-based RPG, but you've got demons and spirits and personas. It's unique, plus it's a chance to save your butt some money because Persona on PlayStation 1, the North American version at least, costs more than what the PlayStation Classic will cost you. So get it just for that. Ridge Racer Type 4, a great racer. At least we got one, right? It's something to enjoy, though we won't be using the special Namco controller with this game, but it's fine. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. I guess we've got enough ports of the actual Street Fighter 2, so they went with the Puzzle Fighter game, but I feel like we've already got enough puzzle games on this PlayStation Classic, and nothing about this game screams PlayStation to me. It was in the arcades and all these other consoles. Bit of a misstep. Oh, SYPHON Filter. I played way more SYPHON Filter than Metal Gear Solid on my original PlayStation, so this one is okay with me. I'm not saying I had the better option with my SYPHON Filter, but, you know, Metal Gear Solid, I didn't know how amazing it was until I got it much later, but I enjoyed my time with it, and it's distinctly PlayStation. Tekken 3 is the logical choice as the final entry in the PlayStation trilogy of Tekken games, and it's one of the best-selling fighting games ever, whatever. Put it on there, Tekken 3. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. You know, Game Day was a huge fan. No, this one, no thanks. Don't want it. Twisted Metal, the long box game, was another long box game. See, long box PlayStation Classic. Twisted Metal 2 is considered a vast improvement over the original Twisted Metal. Don't know why it's on there. They didn't put Tekken 1 on there. They put Tekken 3. Why not Twisted Metal 2 at the very least? It's fine. It's fine. Whatever. And lastly, Wild Arms, a fantastic Western Japanese RPG, a Western JRPG, a Western-themed JRPG. Cowboy turn-based battling. It's probably the best game in the series, and I just love the setting. Now, Japan is getting some different games, like the Arc the Lad games, Armored Core, Saga Frontier is on there, Parasite Eve. Ooh, that would have been a good one. But I think overall, my biggest problem with the PlayStation Classic is that it's fine. It's just fine. It gets the job done, which is not what we want from a nostalgic console. We want it to blow our minds from the gate. And I don't think the PlayStation Classic is going to do that for a lot of people. Now, I have kept my pre-order. I'm still happy with it. I think it's worth the price for what you get on there. There's some items I would have omitted, of course. If you'd like to see the perfection list, the ultimate game day PlayStation Classic list, let me know in the comments, and I will share that with you if you care to know what I think the PlayStation Classic should have looked like for me. But I've got some other things to talk about real quick. A really big mistake with this PlayStation Classic console, a missed opportunity, was the ability to add additional games. Now, I'm not saying you need some online service or you need to find some way to add hard drive space or flash memory to the thing. No. Look, this is all you had to do. Sony, you've got those little tiny memory card slots there. Make them open up, and you could sell miniature memory cards that had game packs on them. Maybe 5 games on a memory card expansion for $20. $20, you add 5 new games, and maybe they could be like an RPG collection, or a racing collection, or a platformer collection, or a bullet hell shoot 'em up expansion, something like that. That would have been awesome, and people would love to collect those mini memory cards. I'm just saying. But we got to look at this from the outside perspective here, and we have to look at it as Sony is a company. They don't love us, really. Really, they don't care about us, and that's fine, but we care about some of their products. and we wanted this to be better, they have made just enough to make some money, and that's where I think they've got something planned down the road. This is my big prediction. At first, in my mind, I was like, well, maybe this will just be the PlayStation Classic Volume 1. Think about all the Atari flashback consoles that they've released over time that have had many different games clustered together, and you would buy all the different ones, right? Like a Volume 1. Maybe there'd be a Volume 1 PlayStation Classic, and then a Volume 2 PlayStation Classic with another set of games. That's what I thought at first, but then I was like, no! Think about what Sony did back in the day. There's been a lot of complaints that the controller is not the DualShock controller that we just think of when we think of PlayStation 1 now. What they did was they released the DualShock controller, and from then on, the PlayStation console always came with the DualShock. It was just part of the console. It wasn't something that you would always buy separately. I think when I finally received my own PlayStation, it was the DualShock version. I think it was even called the PlayStation DualShock. So what if Sony is planning something where they've held back some of these awesome, iconic games, and they're going to use them when they make the PlayStation DualShock Classic Edition? I think that could be possible. A PlayStation DualShock system that comes with those DualShock controllers and 20 different games, many of which people are complaining about not having on this particular release. So I think you keep your eyes out. We might see a DualShock PlayStation Classic. They have to know it's what people want. Everyone's been complaining about it. So maybe Sony's going to answer the call with a follow-up. Nintendo would be a little tricky to come up with a second Nintendo console. This is the difference that Sony can make with a second PlayStation Classic. They can add in DualShock controllers and more games that we really want to see. So maybe don't cancel your pre-order, because that might tell Sony, oh, we're not going to do a follow-up DualShock console because nobody's buying the first one. I don't know, maybe, but just what do you think? Do you think Sony's gonna bring it to the forefront with a DualShock version of a PlayStation Classic? I think so. They'd make even more money. Come on, you business, do it. And do it for us with a better games list. And again, speaking of games lists, let me know if you would like to hear Game Dave's perfect PlayStation 1 Classic, what my 20 games would be, alright? Sound good? Okay. Remember, stay digitally distracted and DualShocked, hopefully.